Well, time for another great conversation with Mason County Sheriff Ryan Spurling here as he gets ready for his monthly luncheon at the Fjord Oyster Bank. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. It's good to see you. The sun is out. That means more and more people have come back from their snowbirding, and a lot of conversations have been had lately on figuring out how you can be better neighbors in the sense of keeping an eye on things. Folks are coming back, and they may just now be realizing that their lawnmower was missing. Yeah. So you have the online reporting tools that are happening, but you're really working hard too on ramping up these neighborhood watch campaigns. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. As everybody knows, we're lowest number of officers per 1,000 citizens. And I've gone back. I read a document from Sheriff Ferris in 1980, and it was an issue.
Okay.
Then I read a document from 1997 from Sheriff Weibark, and he was addressing it as a strategic plan to try to get to 1 deputy per 1,000. And even in 1980, Washington State had the lowest number of officers per 1,000. I thought it was just the last 15 years, but now I'm finding documents that it's been a long-standing thing. And with that in mind, Mason County, especially as rural as we are, we can't be everywhere. We can't prevent crimes from happening because we're saturating an area very often. So we need the eyes and ears of our community. And whether it be a major disaster, and we're working with Department of Emergency Management now with some of the training that they provide to communities to respond if a community was isolated. For example, in 2007, Hoodsport was isolated. Landslide cut it off. Yep. You couldn't get resources out here except by boat. We had to actually put a deputy here in Hoodsport in one of the hotels, and he stayed there for 4 or 5 days until DOT was able to clear the roadways. But with that in mind, if we're isolated, we need to have knowledge of who your neighbors are, what resources your neighbors have, and if you know your neighbors, then you know who's not normally in your community. If they're up to no good, if they're committing crimes, if they're casing properties for burglaries, you'll be able to communicate that. It's an extra set of eyes and ears. And the more we connect our community, the more we take care of each other, the better off Mason County will be.
What do you think on the benefits, plus or minuses, on social media being an helper on this? You see the Lake Cushman groups or the Colony Surf groups or things like that, and they put out information, but oftentimes it's pretty reactionary maybe, or really without any sort of backing or a lot of times accurate information.
Sometimes. And the Neighborhood Watch would give you a point of contact. Deputy Matt Colbenson is going to be the one leading that. And each Neighborhood Watch captain would be able to contact and say, is this legit? Or if one community is experiencing a certain car that's casing houses for burglaries and they've got a picture of it, then we'll send it to all the Neighborhood Watch captains to be aware of, if you see this vehicle, please call us, or that type of thing, so that it kind of gives it an outlet for verifying some of the information, because, as you say, social media can be a strength, it can be a weakness, much like artificial intelligence. The people that are up to no good are using it for no good, but you can also use it for good.
You had a new type of community gathering this week, and it was at PUD 3. It was kind of a different opportunity here. A lot of folks from Hoodsport, Lake Cushman come down, Spencer Lake, the island there, they come out for those, as well as the Allyn areas. So different audience. What did you hear from them that was similar to some of the concerns and different from that area?
You know, we have the 4 times a month where I make myself available to the community, and if I'm not available, my command staff will be out there. But what we were asked was, hey, that's always in the morning or at lunchtime. There's some people that are commuting out of county that would like to have an opportunity to speak. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a evening community meeting. So that's what we did. And we put it at the PUD 3 because it's kind of centrally located within the county. Everybody could have access to it. And, you know, it wasn't hugely attended, but there were 35, 40 people there, and they were mostly different people than come to our other events.
Good. Well, that's good.
So that was good. And in particular, we had family members of the victims of our double homicide asking for clarification. And it was really good for us as part of how we process we were able to communicate back and forth. They were able to bring their concerns and their thoughts. We told them what we have done as an agency, because when that happened, when the homicide happened, and we heard that we had possibly missed stuff through social media. Oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? We went back and did an immediate audit of everything that we did, because if we miss something, we want to take ownership of that. And we have found that there's some communication things that we can improve on. And we've also met with the courts. We've met with the judges since then, with how do, or the person that's in charge up of the court area, on serving orders and how they're processed, to make sure that we as a county are doing everything we can to have streamlined processes and we're not missing anything. And we found some areas we can get better at. I don't know that it would have made any difference in this particular case. A piece of paper often is not going to stop somebody from killing, but we've got to do our part. And if we're not doing it to the best of our ability, we need to improve. So we were able to walk through that with them in front of the rest of the people as well. And that's important, because government needs to be accountable to the citizens.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid of hard questions. Bring those hard questions. Let's walk through them together as a community. If we need to improve, or if we need to have somebody else get educated, that's what we want to do. So that was kind of the purpose, and I was glad that we were able to do that. Some other things were brought up, really good conversations. People, more than anything, were asking, what can we do to help? How can we help? How can we? Because what came up over and over again is the prosecuting attorneys and the judges challenged with no public defenders, and how the judge, district courts, has had to dismiss 25 cases without prejudice because there was no public defender.
Wow.
And you're talking cases, DUIs and other things, and the citizens are concerned about this, and they want to know, what can we do about this?
Yeah.
And we're saying, get involved with the legislature, get involved with who's being elected in the legislature, have your voice heard. That's the way our system is set up.
I saw this week that it was either a judge in Thurston County, or maybe Thurston County and on the east side as well, both putting in injunctions on that legislator passed, governor signed bill that put the your jobs potentially in jeopardy as a sheriff, to go to a 3-member panel. Or we talked a lot about this, and I know that it's just happened, but you kind of knew that a lawsuit was coming to question the constitutionality of that. I did also see online that it was probably 4 or 5 sheriffs across the state had the types of questions are being asked. I don't really know how to. The public has set up to question the efficacy of the sheriffs in their different counties. I think it was like 4 or 5 of them across the 39 counties we have here, or whatever. So, where do you see on that front? Do you think it's going to withstand the constitutional challenge? I mean, it took the right away from the people.
Yeah, the injunction, it's called a preliminary injunction, was granted by a Thurston County judge on Tuesday, and that was a result of the lawsuit that was filed by 4 sheriffs up in eastern Washington, northeast Washington. That's Stevens County, Ferry County, Pend Oreille County, and Spokane County. It was originally heard, from what I understand, by a Lincoln County judge, and he said that he didn't feel he had the authority because the seat of Washington is Thurston County. So it was brought over here. That judge heard it and had a, from what I hear, I wasn't able to make it. I had another event, but there were sheriffs there, and pretty eloquent opinion by that judge, and put on the preliminary injunction so that it stops the law. It was taking effect on the 29th or the 30th.
Yeah.
And then now it can go through the court process. There's also a hearing today that was filed by the Washington State Sheriff's Association on the constitutionality of it, which is a separate lawsuit, and we'll find out what happens with that. And again, I'm certified. Every sheriff in the state is certified. It's not so much worried about, and we've always fought for qualifications, it just hasn't happened. It's about the removal without the voters.
Yeah.
This comes back to the voters' rights. And I know a lot of people say, well, why are you resistant to account? We're not. We're held accountable all the time. We're sued if we do the wrong things.
And there is the recall process.
Absolutely, and it's cumbersome, but it's the same recall process for judges It's the same thing for legislators. It's the same thing for the auditor, the clerk, the commissioners, everybody. That's our system. And this is circumventing that system. You know, and as we said, if President Trump put a board together of appointed people, and if the governor of Washington State said something that they didn't like, they could remove the governor without the voters in Washington. That would be the opposite side of the spectrum. An example. And, you know, that's taken away the voters' ability to have their voice. And that's what this is. The sheriff is the only elected law enforcement official in the world. And it's controlled by voters, not by an appointment, but by voters. So that's what this undermines, and that's why it's being challenged. And we'll see. I can't predict what happens, but hopefully the courts will come to the correct conclusions.
These conversations, of course, brought to you by our great friends at our Community Credit Union, which are huge supporters of law enforcement, not only in Mason County, but across the counties they serve in the credit union. And we thank them for that. You got a room full of folks to talk to again, so we'll let you get to it. But I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate all you do, Jim.